So the first step in planning your art of marriage event is to pray. No matter how much you prepared or planned, if the Holy Spirit isn't involved in the whole process, changed lives are not going to happen. And that's really the point.
You want to make sure that, one, God's calling you to do it. You don't want to proceed without His blessing on it. And you also want to be recruiting a prayer team, a group of people that, while you're focusing on the logistics, they are solely focusing on prayer over this event.
So the next steps in preparing for your art of marriage, there are 6 things you want to keep in mind. The first is to select a date, and you'll probably want to approach your pastor with 2 dates in mind.
Just in case, as you're coordinating it, maybe there's something going on in town that you didn't plan for, and so it's good to be flexible with your dates. A second thing to look into is going to be your location.
Will this be in your sanctuary? Will it be in some other building at the church, or maybe off campus somewhere? Will it be in conjunction with other churches?
So it's good to make sure you secure that location, make sure it's available for you, and that'll also help you with your dates as well. Some other things to consider are going to be, how much are you going to charge for the event? It's not just manuals that you have to factor. Do you have a facility fee?
But also it could include whether you're going to charge for lunch on Saturday, or whether you're going to have childcare. Is it going to be paid childcare? All these things factor into the cost that you're going to charge for your event.
Something else to consider is going to be registering your event with theartofmarriage.com.
This makes it really easy for attendees to find your event, whether it's in your community or in your church, and then sign up online, and that way you know how many people to prepare for.
It's also really good to preview the material beforehand. Make sure that you've watched every video all the way through. That helps you know that you're solid on the content, as well as making sure there's no skips or playback issues with your DVDs beforehand. Also familiarizing yourself with the manual. That way you know what the experience is going to be for the couples attending.
And finally, you're going to want to set your promotion plan in place. There's several things that are recommended in the host guide, and you can delegate each of those things.
How many flyers do you need? Where are you going to put those? What are you going to do with your posters? Showing a video maybe during a church service.
That way you can get the word out and get as many people as possible to your event.
When you're planning the event, one of the greatest helps is making sure you set due dates for your team. Within the host guide that we provide online and in your package, you will be able to see some suggested dates so many weeks out from whenever you plan the event. This will help you get dates in mind and then stick to those. That way you know those are getting done. Another thing that can get a little tricky, but it's really just setting an attendance goal.
This depends on many factors: the size of your community, the size of your church, the location that you're going to be at.
And so it's good to know, can you fit 50 people in your venue? Can you fit 100? What is going on in your area at that time? Set something realistic, but definitely something that'll stretch you. Another important thing to consider is, how will the art of marriage fit in with your overall marriage goals and with your ministry in the church itself? If you aren't the marriage coordinator for your church, make sure you sit down with them and really focus on, what will this event generate for your church?
And then finally, you're going to want to plan for follow-up for the guests that come to your event. How many people got saved? How many people are attending a local church? You want to follow up with them, maybe give them some next steps of if they're going to get involved in a small group or a Sunday school class.
Are you doing small groups like the Art of Marriage Connect or even the Art of Marriage small group series? Do you have some mentor couples in the church that would be able to follow up with couples in need?
Childcare is a very important part that you want to figure out before your event happens.
This can be a little bit tricky. But the good thing about providing childcare is that you overcome one of those objections for couples who are thinking about, well, then I got to find a babysitter.
But there's a lot of things to consider if you want to do that. First, you need to figure out what ages of childcare you're going to provide. Is it going to be infants, or starting at 3 years old, 5 years old? Are you going to have paid staff? You also want to figure out how many adult childcare workers to have. It's best for parents to know that their kids are being left in a safe place that will free them up from any distractions during the event. The location of your childcare is also important. You know what? Get those kids as far away as possible. The next city even. Just kidding. But really, you do want to make sure that the parents are distraction-free during the event so they can focus on their marriage. If you're following the host guide, there is a break for lunch on Saturday, and so you need to decide whether you're going to have people go out and find lunch on their own, or if you're going to host lunch at your facility at the event. There's pros and cons to each of those. Obviously, if they go out on their own, it's hard to get people back on time, and it depends on your location if there's even places to eat nearby. And so it may be an advantage for you to host lunch at your facility.
But you do want to talk about, will your facility actually sustain them having lunch? Do you have a place for everybody to sit down and eat? Are you going to cater in? Do you have a team at the church already who does handle those things and is ready to fill in and cater the event for you? When thinking about how much you want to charge for the event, it's good to keep in mind you do want to charge something because you do want these couples invested. You don't want to take all the costs on. So make sure you think about what materials are involved with your manuals. Make sure if you are providing lunch, you factor those in. Are you paying child care workers, or do you have facility fees? All of these things play into how much you're going to charge. Most Art of Marriage events are charging somewhere between $50 to $75 per couple.
Some last things for you to consider. Refunds. What are you going to do if someone decides that they register but then they're unable to attend the event?
You are taking on a little bit of responsibility with purchasing manuals and things, and so making sure you have a refund policy in place that you communicate to those attending.
Secondly, a resource table. Are you going to have one? Are you going to have it stocked with materials there, or just samples for people to look at and then order themselves?
A resource table allows couples to be able to connect with something after the event and pick that up immediately. One important thing that sometimes gets overlooked is going to be your on-site registration. Are you going to allow couples to show up the day of the event to register for your event? You'll also want to plan for this whenever you're going to purchase your manuals.
So if you've ordered extra manuals for those on-site registrations, you may be thinking, what am I going to do if I have extra of these left over? Well, you can return them to us if they're still wrapped in the cellophane, but what we recommend is really to hold on to them for your next event. We hope that you have enjoyed this event and are planning for more people to come the next time you do it, whether that's 6 months or a year down the road. And so holding on to those manuals will help you the next time you host an event.